Task Force Z, issue 2, Matthew Rosenberg writing with Eddie Barrows on the art. So last issue they went in to try and stop Mr. Freeze with the Lazarus pills, and it ended with like Jason being stuck in ice, and I think it was zombie Arkham Knight who was crawling towards him like, oh, it's time for a munch. It does quickly resolve that, it has to be said. It gets past that fairly quickly. Bloom does appear to have abandoned Jason, but he's actually just stopping Freeze, and he comes back.
What did he do to Freeze, though? Because he rammed those Lazarus pills down his throat, and Freeze is gone. Like,
I mean, we see a lot of Lazarus pills in the air. I don't know if he rammed them into his face or if he just like.
I don't know what he did to him, but I like the idea of Bloom being this monster that can become unchained and then to hide goes back into himself. And I almost feel like Bloom's the actual villain of this story.
Oh, it may end up being, I can see that.
And we'll get there. Like, this is just unleashing his monster. But I love that I love how this feels like a B horror movie at times. Like that scene with Arkham Knight coming after a frozen Jason. Like that's straight out of a silly zombie movie.
Yeah, he basically electrocutes her for a bit, but then when Bloom comes back in, he pours out some of the pills, which attracts her away, and she eats those instead. So there you go. One of the things we find out in this, actually, when they get back to base, it keeps this running joke going where the lady who runs this place keeps like bumping into Jason when he comes out the shower. But one of the things we learn is that they actually have to intentionally watch the dosage of Lazarus resin, because if they give them too much, they'll just be alive again, and they don't want that. They want zombies that'll follow their orders.
Right. And we found out too that as long as most of the brain's intact, they can just regrow the body.
Yes, which is actually kind of traditional zombie rules in a way, because you got to shoot them in the head. That's the rule.
Right. Because at one point, when they're yelling at Jason over the comm, they said, do what you have to Arkham Knight, but keep her head intact. And that was the first one. You're like, oh, okay. And then we see them regrowing Bane and Man-Bat, and that comes out, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I mean, that fills in with the, with the Lazarus pit. We've seen, like, kind of body parts just go in and then come back out, fully grown people. So
yeah, it's fun stuff. But then he runs into Arkham Knight, and she's actually pretty much human and alive. And basically, to like fix her, they pumped her so much that she's actually kind of normal again for a bit. And she says it'll wear off, but for now she's actually and it actually kind of feels that they're not. I won't say flirting, but it does feel like there's a bit of a spark.
There's a connection there.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if that's intentional, because isn't Jason the Arkham Knight in the video game?
He is actually, yes.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that's a little meta commentary from Rosenberg, that he's like, oh, hey, look, he's flirting with the Arkham Knight. But I do like that, because it does feel real, right? It's like, this is Astrid Arkham, she has this whole legacy that she's trying to get away from. Jason has a legacy that he's trying to get away from. So, of course, they're kind of kindred spirits. So I do like that.
Yeah. So they've got another mission to go out to, and Miss Hobart is coming with them, and it turns out that she actually has another side to her, shall we say.
She's a shadow demon. That when the lights go out, the demon comes out, and I'm like, okay, this book, Connor not liking this book is prime Connor, where you're just like, just have fun, man. Like, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I'm having so much fun. Like, it's not the best book, but I am entertained.
Yeah. A lot of fighting with was it the Cobra cult that they're fighting, and there's a lot of chaos. Like, there's a big hole in the floor at one point that Bane falls into. Just a lot of stuff. But eventually, when the lights go out, like you said, the woman like turns into like a devil monster. She's kind of terrifying.
That's why I said a shadow demon.
Yeah. And yeah, she gets all kind of weird and creepy. Like, even her lettering turns into like sort of like monstrous text. Like the hello, like that kind of thing. But they turn the light back on. She turns back into normal. But they're there to actually find their new team member. And the big like surprise at the end is that it's actually Deadshot, who shoots Jason in the back when he gets up out of his box.
I love that in his most primal zombie form, Deadshot still shoots first and asks questions later.
Oh dear. Yeah, maybe telling Jason that who they were looking for was already a zombie might have helped. Like,
right?
Because I think he's. I mean, okay, I suppose maybe he should have assumed it was another zombie, given what the team is. But still, maybe say, hey, it's it's a very dangerous person who's now a zombie. Maybe.
I want to know what Cobra was going to do with Deadshot.
Oh.
Right? Like, is this whole zombie thing part of the Cobra cult and their dark magic? Is this just the Lazarus resin? Is it a combination? Like, what were they planning on doing with Deadshot? That's what I want to know.
Because they did have him in a coffin, just sort of as they were doing some sort of like at least a speech, if not a ritual. Yeah.
Yeah, which Cobra. If you've read comics for as long as I have, Cobra are the ultimate guys for you to send your team to beat up.
Yes.
Because the Cobra cult leader's going to monologue.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I had fun with the book again. Like, it's not a must read, but it went in quick. I had some fun and chuckles at the various moments. Bloom honestly is kind of entertaining in this so far, and I say I kind of like the chemistry between Jason and Arkham Knight. So, and I'm curious to see what they do with Deadshot. So, I think Connor is being overly harsh on this book. But yeah, not bad.
Yeah. As long as it stays entertaining at this level, I'll be happy. It's a very low stakes book too, because like you can throw Bane down this hole and you just know like, oh, Zombie Bane will be back.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, you have the whole Lazarus resin kill switch that if they want to bring Man-Bat or Bane back, it's just like, oh, they overdosed and now they're back. They got the dosage wrong or whatever. So I do like that. I don't know if that's editorial. I don't know if that's Rosenberg, but it is a nice little backdoor if you want to bring characters back.
Yeah. And for some of them who are kind of turned to, like, Man-Bat, for example, who was kind of redeemed by the time he died. Like, maybe there'll be a conscious choice to like give him more, to wake him up by someone,
Right. Well, now that Jason has 100% more holes in his body, I wonder if he's going to get the Lazarus resin treatment and seeing how that affects. We'll get like a first person view through that. But yeah, man, Rosenberg, like I had a friend that was big on Rosenberg when he was over at Marvel and his independent stuff. And I get it now. Like it's not setting anything on fire, but he is consistently good. Like I've been entertained more than not. So just as long as it keeps this level, I'll be happy.
Yeah. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give this an 8.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go as high as that, but I think it's a solid 7. Like, I'm having fun. It's a good book.
Yeah.
So
I'm also a sucker for Eddie Barrow's art. So, and the zombies look sufficiently creepy. That scene where Bane and Man-Bat are on the table, and it just looks like a mad science experiment. I thought it looked really good.
It does make me a little nostalgic for that early Detective Comics run in Rebirth, Yeah.
That's
what I think of when I think Eddie Barrow's more than anything.
Yeah.